If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of the Mind Pump, this is a bonus episode. We are releasing a brand new Maps program.
Maps PED.
This is for all of you crazy, advanced, consistent, hardcore lifters. All you guys that constantly write me.
We know you exist.
That say things like, I like to work out a lot. I've got crazy recovery ability. I've been consistent. I want to squeeze out my body's absolute potential. I want to see what I'm capable of.
It's the peak of all Maps programs.
This is it. This is a double split routine. This stretched our programming skills, but we put together what we think to be the most advanced Maps program ever. So we talk all about it in this episode. Of course, because we're launching the program, it is on sale. Maps PED. PED stands for Performance Enhancing Design. Design is $60 off with this launch, and you get a free Maps PED t-shirt. These are limited edition. We won't make them again. So here's what you do. Go to mapsped.com to learn more, or if you just want to sign up, use the code PED60, that's PED and the number 60, for $60 off. This sale and this launch with the free t-shirts ends Saturday the 27th at midnight. So that's it. Without any further ado, here we are unveiling our newest program, Maps PED. Adam, what were you looking at earlier?
Just now?
Yeah.
They just found out, or I guess I just found out that Summer Rae photoshopped certain photos.
Oh,
no way. No. Right.
Yeah.
No.
Would someone make a video on that or something?
It's not real, man. Yeah. I was just I watch a couple of these guys they make a living off of putting out everybody on Front Street, and it just popped up in my feed. I was waiting for us to get on the podcast, and I saw that. Yeah. Well, the
backlash it's coming, and it's going to come hot.
They're tightening it up right now. I really don't care. It's not a big deal to me, but it's interesting to watch because the people that are doing it are also selling like fitness programs. And so I think that's where they're going to, just like that one girl, what's her name that we just talked about, Brittany Dawn or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the backlash that's coming from this. Here's the thing that's funny. It's already bad enough that you're not qualified to probably write programs for people in the first place. So that's already but whatever. People are going to be foolish enough to buy from you based off of cute pics of you. And I think that's why it's pissing people off so much is like they got fooled into buying something.
Nobody likes to get bamboozled.
Yes. Yeah. That's my word.
Yeah.
Hoodwinked. So these girls are photoshopping their butts and bringing their waist in and making their body. And the funny part too is like Summer Rae's probably a really cute girl without all that stuff. It's like, and then you do that, mislead everybody, and then you sell programs.
They've been doing it forever, dude. It's been in the magazines have done it forever. Airbrushing, they used to call it. It's just, I think that what we're going to see is we're starting to see the tide turn on the whole influencer thing. In fact, saying you're an influencer sounds stupid now.
Yeah. How do you differentiate yourself, though? If that's like your only thing, I mean, you got to be pretty competitive with it, right? You got to know the little tricks and things to grab and exaggerate your booty and all that kind of stuff, right?
Listen, I love it. I mean, it's really good. It's not good for the industry or the space. It's good for us business-wise. I mean, it's what the opportunity that we saw when we came in the space. It was, okay, we're going to provide all this free content. Eventually, it'll turn into a business. We'll monetize. Well, what will we do? The easiest option for us was to put out really good programming because it just didn't exist in our space. Now, that's not to say
I wouldn't even say it's the easiest. It was just we saw that there was a...
Well,
it's devoid of it.
It's the easiest for us. It's because what we've spent most of our career getting better and better at, and I would say that, if there's an expert that we are at anything or any of us are, I would say it would be writing programs for the general population that have specific goals, i.e. what this episode is all about.
Well, it's funny you're saying this because when I first created Maps Anabolic, 7 years ago with Doug, I knew that there were only two ways I could possibly sell this fitness program online. The first option was I'd have to get someone that just looked insanely ripped and muscular and good looking or whatever to sell the program. or I'd have to build.
And that's why you hired me.
Yeah, that's why I brought Justin on board. I'd have to build an insane amount of authority with good quality, valuable information. And so when we did Maps Anabolic, I was like, well, I'm not going to look like the kind of people that I would want to in order to promote it in a sense of the model or whatever. I got myself shredded, but I'm not going to be able to compete with these, crazy looking models. And so the idea was, what are we going to do? And so, we threw a lot of ideas around, writing blogs, writing a book, and then of course the podcast. And that's how people got a hold of our programs, is by hearing us talk and hearing that the fact that we understand what we're talking about, and we're creating programs that actually work. And so that's just, but the other way is faster. Like if you're super good looking and you can post hot pictures of yourself, you can get, which is rare, but if you can do it, you can get a crazy following and then just sell programs like that. But I think that era is starting to see cracks in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, people are becoming savvy to it. I think there's a lot of integrity in the way that we laid the programs out too. I think that we knew when we wrote or when you created Maps Anabolic, and then we created the first program together, which was Maps Performance, and then we went to Aesthetic. We really looked at the core areas that when we look back at all the clients that we had trained and thought, okay, what type of programming is going to benefit 90% of the population that we're talking to, and that was kind of the order of operation when we wrote these programs. And the irony is that it's completely opposite of what people do. The old formula is kind of what Sal's saying, where it's like, okay, find a way to gain a bunch of attraction, whether that be through sexy pics or from funny memes or whatever. You get a lot of attention online, and then you write the craziest workouts.
Yeah.
You just write workouts that
the
are
most crushing workout possible that like nobody could ever complete,
or super creative, like exercises in there that the average person has never seen before, and so they are just baffled by, wow, I've never done this, so this must be great, and that maybe this is what separates her from me, and that is kind of the model. Now, it's fleeting, because what ends up happening is a majority of people that follow, subpar programming. If you have subpar programming and your diet isn't perfect, like, the results are going to be really, really poor. Now, if you have a perfect diet and even a subpar program, those people should change, which is the small percentage of people that see results. But if you have really solid programming, that alone can carry a lot of weight in seeing somebody's body change and improve.
Oh, huge. You combine it with a good diet,
then it's game over.
There's gold.
Yeah. And that was the secret sauce. But now what's been fun with Mind Pump, where we're at now, is to be able to now go back and look at all the niche categories of people. Like, the strongman was such a fun program to write, because it's like, not everybody is getting up going, hey, I want to train like a strongman, but there are people.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that are just,
they want to test themselves.
Your random average person that is curious about that way of training and what would it look like for them, and so it's been fun doing that, and I'm excited about where we are right now. This is by far the most advanced, the most extreme, the most volume that we have ever put in a program.
This is about as hardcore as it gets, and we would not have created this program had we not already have created Maps Anabolic, Maps Performance, Maps Split, Maps Aesthetic,
and gone through the process of getting all the feedback from everybody that's actually been doing all of our programs for the last few years.
Right, because now we have listeners, which is kind of cool now, right? We have people who have been following Maps programming for years now.
Yeah.
For as long as we've been on the air, which is freaking awesome and rad. Some of them were first-time lifters. Others were advanced lifters who decided to switch over to better programming. But they've been working out now for at least a few years following our programs. And so we have this niche group we have people that message us all the time who are just hardcore as fuck. And you guys exist out there. People who love to work out. People,
they live in the gym.
Believe it or not, the number one, almost the only complaint I ever got for Maps Anabolic was, I want to be in the gym more than 3 days a week. Yeah. I like to be in there all the time. I like to work out a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of you out there. I was one of these people. I love being in the gym. I love working out, and I will do what my body can handle, and I like to train my body to the point where it can handle more and more and more, and I'm not afraid of doing that. And there's a lot of people like that out there that want to dial everything in. They want to not just get their body to a really good fit, muscular, lean level, but they want to get extreme.
Yeah, and they want to stretch the capacity.
That's right. They want to see just how far they can take their body. And these are people who have been working out for a long time. These are people who are advanced. This is not, this is not like, hey, I've never worked out before. I'd like to see how far I could take my body. It's like, I've been working out for a while. I've done all these different types of training programs and modalities. I know what my diet looks like. I know how to take supplements. I want to see just how far I could take my body. And so we created a program for those kinds of people. And I'll be honest, this was a very fun program, probably one of the most fun programs I've ever written, because writing a workout for this kind of person is just fun.
Yeah, weren't you like going through this thinking of your 20-year-old self, or like your 25-year-old self who's just been in the gym, living and eat, sleep, and breathing in the gym, and this is something that, like, if given that moment in time, like, this is a program that you're like, wow, man, this is exciting. This is something that I would totally like jump at the opportunity to try.
Now, here's the thing, like, the human body has a tremendous capacity for improvement and adaptation. Tremendous. And it takes time. It does take time, and it takes consistent time. But the human body's got an incredible capacity for work. And if you don't, people who debate this and don't believe me, go find a person who's been working, 8 to 10 hours a day in construction for 25 years. Go do one day of work with them and see if you can last. And they've built their bodies to the point where they can just handle a tremendous amount of workload. Go observe modern hunter-gatherers who their day-to-day activity is more activity than you probably do in a month combined, just because of the amount of activity and work that they do. The human body's got a tremendous capacity. I remember learning this about my body as I, entered into my 30s and got really smart about my training. I realized that if I dialed everything in and was consistent, my work capacity was just up and up and up and up, and it became quite insane.
Yeah.
And if you look at the way that I love looking at old bodybuilders, old strongmen, and how they train. And the reason why I like looking at them is in those days, they placed a huge emphasis on exercise program. Like if you go back in the 70s and before, for sure, but definitely in the 70s, what they would call the golden era of bodybuilding, right? This is Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, Franco Columbo, Chris Dickerson. I mean, these were some of the best looking physiques of bodybuilding before it got just way insane and crazy with the drugs.
And they were the true outliers of their time.
Yeah, I mean, look at Frank Zane, for example.
Well, there's a lot of theories that these guys, this was the beginning of the end as far as like the program. Programming became a lost art. And
absolutely.
When back then it was very minimal steroids, it was the kind of the minimal dose to take it, and then a lot of emphasis was put on the training protocol and the diet. And now we've had many guests on the show to confirm the theories that we have with this, which is it's turned into a drug culture. Now bodybuilding has become, what are you taking, and all about pharmaceuticals, and which has enhanced everything and made it crazier and crazier. But because of that, it seems that the programming side of it, which got us to this era in the first place,
it's lost value.
Yeah, it has completely lost a lot.
It's lost its value, and I would argue that at some point the work capacity for a 320-pound off-season bodybuilder is not as high as 220 or 230-pound Arnold Schwarzenegger was back in the 70s. I don't know if they have that work capacity because of the sheer size of their bodies, and they just don't. Again, the emphasis on programming, it doesn't have as much value. Back in the 70s, it was still bodybuilders would compare not steroids, but they would compare routines.
Yeah, well, that too, and didn't they also? I mean, they were getting real food sources, and they were also like going out and getting sun, and they were doing like everything possible, getting good sleep, like all these things that were like, where we highlight the importance of them, but that like every single part of their day and routine was dialed in.
Dude, those guys were insane. Like, I don't know very many, look, Arnold Schwarzenegger pioneered the classic double split routine, for example. Now, this was what he used to do because he got his body to train to such a high level that he would go to the gym twice a day. He'd work out in the morning and he'd work out in the evening. And the reason why he would do this is he found that he could hit his body with the right amount of intensity, both workouts, and in between be able to eat, rest, and do other things. So he'd have these two amazing workouts. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, Mr. Olympia, during this period of time, other bodybuilders started to follow suit. And then you had other very extreme examples like Serge Nubret. He's that bodybuilder that even people today like to share pictures of him. I don't even know if they know his name, but if you look this guy up, one of the most aesthetic physiques you've ever seen in your life. Big, full chest, muscular arms and shoulders, incredible back, great definition, very small waist. He's like the classic bodybuilder look, kind of like that Frank Zane look. Serge Nubret routinely would do 70 sets in a workout, like insane amounts of volume and crazy workload, but he was able to shape and sculpt his body. And again, during that time, it was with minimal anabolics. Same thing with Frank Zane, Tom Platz, who later on became one of the top guys in the 80s. They really pioneered how you apply training to a body that is advanced and has been consistently advanced for a long time. And what they all did was lots of angles, lots of volume, lots of sets. They all trained heavy, but they also took advantage of getting the pump. And they also did, again, these double split routines because many of these bodybuilders were hitting their body, the whole body, 3 to 4 days a week. In other words, they were hitting each body part 3 to 4 times a week, but they were also doing a split in the sense that they weren't hitting the whole body each workout because of the amount of volume they were doing. It would be impossible. They would be in the gym for 3 hours at a time or whatever. So what they do is they break up they would do the body part split, but then do a double split routine. So then in the AM, they'd come in and hit like chest and back, and in the PM, come back and hit the smaller body parts. Or if they were doing legs, for example, and they want to make an emphasis on their lower body, heavy compound movements in the AM, then come back and do more of the isolation type movements. These routines were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Of course, the drawback is the amount of time that it took and dedication that it took to do this. Like, you were in the gym 2 times a day, but these guys were fucking serious, and that's what they did. And the funny thing is, we have a pretty large segment of our audience that's like, hey man, I want to see what I can do. I want to see how far I can take my body, which is why we set out.
Yeah, where does that line exist, for the individual? And I think that like people have been thinking about that. If you've been putting the work in year after year, and you've had great results, but you're like, I wonder what it would look like if I even stretched this a little bit. And that's what we were flirting with that.
Well, we have to talk about what we think are a lot of the benefits of running a program with this high of volume and then splitting up the workouts. Yeah. Like, why? Why can this be so beneficial in comparison to a traditional, body part split or a traditional full body type of a workout?
Okay, so when you see here's a couple things, right? When you see studies on potential benefits of post-workout nutrition, here's where this plays a big role. If you let's say you're going to work your whole body in one day, but rather than doing it all in one workout, you do it in 2 workouts. One of the benefits is post-workout after the first one, you can feed the body, take advantage of the fact that your body's really trying to utilize nutrients. It becomes more sensitive the second workout to do that again. So you actually take advantage of meal timing. This is when that kind of makes sense. It doesn't really make sense if you work out once a day, splitting hairs. But when you're working out like this, then you start to take advantage of these cool tricks. The second thing is the amount of energy that you have for both workouts is much better. It's just much better to work out. If you're going to do a big workout, it's better to break it up into 2 workouts because you're going to come back the second time around, more energy, more strength, more motivation. And the third thing is studies will show across the board, it really doesn't matter what workout modality you're doing. For example, they've done studies on cardio where they'll compare someone doing, an hour of cardio a day versus doing cardio twice a day, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night. or someone who does an hour of stretching versus 30 minutes of stretching in the morning, 30 minutes of stretching at night. Anytime you spread it out this way, it seems to have a more favorable result on the body. The cardio, for example, shows more fat loss doing it. Part of it may be that you just have more energy and you're burning more calories. I've experimented with all-day workouts in the past. You guys remember those, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've done like 4 or 5 of those where I'll go, I have a whole day to myself. Usually it's a weekend. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to do 3 or 4 exercises. I'll do 3 sets of each, and I'll do that every other hour. So I'm talking about not even doing 2 workouts. I'm doing something like 4 or 5 workouts, and each one lasting about 15 minutes. The results I get from those is insane. The strength gains I get, I every single time I do those, I feel like I build muscle, which is crazy to say considering I've been working out for so long. I don't feel blasted and sore the next day. But if you look at the total volume, if you look at all the work that I did, there's no way I'd be able to do that in a single workout. In fact, if I did it in a single workout, I would overtrain. So here's the irony of this. The irony of this, you can handle more volume if you split up your workouts.
Right.
That's the irony. If you were to do a 60 set workout all at once, the risk of overtraining and doing too much is higher than if you did 2 30 set workouts.
Now, you saying that, I also want, though, to explain to people, because I already know that this is going to be a question, and I want to be very transparent that this is what I did a lot of times, though. So when I got towards the end of competing, I was at my max volume ever in my life. Like, I'd never trained 4 years so hard, so consistently, scaling month over month to reach the point that I had reached when I was at the professional level. And at that level, I was doing more volume than any program that we have currently written right now. This is the closest thing to what I was doing at the very end of my career. Now, the difference was, one, it wasn't the 3 of us sitting down and programming this together, so there was little different things that I had focused on for my specific body and weak parts and yada, yada, yada. But my goal was to try and get it in like a 2-hour workout. But a lot of times what would end up happening is, as I'd go through and speaking to your overtrained feeling, I've been doing this for a really long time, so I can feel when my body's had enough.
Right.
Like I can just tell, like, okay, today, and what made a difference on that? The way I was fed, the way I slept, the way I had trained from the previous day. Some days I'd be able to combine what we have written in our AM PM workout in an entire workout and feel amazing, great, and power all the way through it. Other times I would be training and I could feel just my body fatigued and my body telling me like, okay, this is too much volume in one workout, and then I would split. And I go, okay, I'll come back later on tonight and finish up the rest of my routine. So I kind of had this blend of, this routine, but sometimes it would be combined with the AM PM workout, and then other times it would be split in half. I'd even done sometimes when I was like full bodybuilder mode, where I'd go split it in 3. Sometimes I would go, if I had a weekend or a week where I was off, it was a spring break type of deal or whatever, and I didn't have anything to do all week, I would break it up in 3s. I would go work out early in the morning, go eat, go relax for a little bit, come back in the afternoon, work out a little bit more of the routine, and then relax, come back later in the evening, do it again. So I want people to know that we structured it in a way that we think is most optimal or most ideal for the max benefits from it. But that doesn't mean that you can't still, again, like every program we talk about, to be able to modify for your lifestyle and adjust it. So if there's days where you may not be able to get to the gym twice in one day, you could combine all this. Now, again, speaking to your point, Sal, I think it is most ideal, and you'll get the most bang for your buck to break it up in 2 if you can. But I also understand the reality of that. Sometimes it's tough to get back to the gym a second time.
It's like it's a fascinating, I hate using this word, but I'm going to. It's like a hack. It really is. One of the things that we have to juggle as dedicated fitness enthusiasts, okay, this is something that you have to juggle if you're really advanced and you're very, very serious about working out. The biggest thing you have to juggle is your capacity to handle the load and the volume that you're throwing at your body, your recovery ability. That's the biggest thing you have to juggle. If you could move that in the direction of being able to handle more, then that means you're able to push your body even further and get better results. And this is the game. This is the game. The game is this is, by the way, this is why anabolic steroids are so damn effective for some people. It's not that the steroids themselves are super effective at building muscle. That's part of it. The other part of it is
a constant signal being sent all day.
And their capacity for work goes through the roof.
Recover.
So now they can push their body harder and do more and more. And so splitting up your workouts is this type of a hack. Like I said, when I did these all-day workouts, if I added up the total amount of sets that I was doing for the whole day, it was something like 70-something sets. If I did that all in one workout, I would be fried. I'd be fucked. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be so sore. I wouldn't be able to move, and I would not have gotten the benefits of it.
To that point, I think it's important that I do mention that because I forget that not everybody has been listening to Mind Pump forever, and I was openly on anabolics. So it's important to know that when I talk about handling that much volume, pushing myself in an entire workout like that, and being able and feeling great still. And I was on anabolics. 2, I gradually scaled to that volume over the course of almost 4 years. So I definitely think that that's important to note that this is advanced. In fact, one of the things we discussed this month coming into it was, normally when we do a program launch, we just do a program launch. We don't have any specials. We don't have any sales or anything else like that. But we all agreed that what we didn't want to do, because this program could be very appealing to a lot of bodybuilder people or people that want to push and train their body to that level, we highly recommend that you run like split before something like this to set you up for this much training. So, we did split 50% off all month long to encourage somebody who maybe listens to this episode or finds out that we've just launched Maps PED and they're like, oh shit, I really want to do that. That sounds awesome. And you haven't done any other MAPS programs.
Definitely
before.
A prerequisite to this program.
Right. Yeah. I do think that's a good first place to start and then evolve into the PED.
Yes.
For sure.
I would, as with any program, whether it's one of our programs or any other workout that you're doing, you also always want to listen to your body. And if you're like, this is too much, take a break, scale it back, take off some days, or reduce the intensity, reduce the volume. Let your body kind of guide how this goes.
This is literally the Mount Everest of our programs. I mean, it takes like an entire year of dedication. I mean, I'm sure it takes years of like planning to get to that point where you reach the top of Mount Everest. And, in terms of like us trying to structure something where, you have like a definitive goal of like the ultimate body, the ultimate physique that you're trying to build, there is a level that you can ratchet up further, but it takes a lot of fucking discipline and a lot of time to get there.
Well, look, we talk about this all the time, right? The minimum necessary stimulus to give you the maximum result, right? We've said it in other ways, but we constantly communicate that. Here's what happens as you get more advanced. As you get more advanced, that minimum dose continues to grow. What got your body to improve when you were a beginner will no longer get your body to respond when you're intermediate. In fact, it may actually cause you to regress once you get to a certain point. It's too little. It doesn't do anything for you. It worked when you were out of shape. It ain't going to work for you now. Well, a lot of people, when they get to that advanced level where they've been working out for a year, 2 years consistently, missed no workouts, they're getting good sleep, they're doing everything right, they're working out hard, they're at a level where to get their body to even move another inch or two, it takes some serious planning. It takes some serious programming. Now, one thing you could do is just keep adding volume to your workouts, but at some point, you're going to hit a wall. How do we get past that wall to get your body to continue to change? You got to get smart. You got to get smart with your programming. You got to start to figure things out, and this is where some of these tricks make a lot of sense, and one of them is splitting your routine up into 2 workouts and following what the bodybuilders of the golden era, the peak of bodybuilding programming did, which was these kind of body part split type routines, which is what this program looks like. Now, besides that, there's a lot of other things in this program that we've applied to our other workouts that just fucking work. One of them is phasing. Phase your workouts. Always phase your workouts. Always train for particular types of adaptation. And what I loved about writing this program was I was able to pull from my arsenal of all the information that I've gathered through all the decades of following bodybuilders and looking at advanced routines. And we were able to throw some of the stuff in this program that we haven't shown in other routines. For example, there's a version of a superset known as a compound set, which I love. I use them all the time, but we really haven't programmed compound sets in any of our programs. A compound set is a superset with two opposing muscle groups. Opposing meaning on opposite sides of the body, or each muscle, the action of that muscle causes the other muscle to stretch when you contract it. So, and Arnold was a huge fan of this. Arnold, in fact, when I was a kid, I read an article where Arnold said he loved to superset pull-ups with bench presses.
Massive pumps from this.
Oh, he talked about how he loved the back pump with the chest pump. And I love doing this. Like, superset your biceps with triceps. That one you're probably already familiar with. A lot of people do that. Apply it to the rest of your body. Do these compound sets, and it's very different than a traditional superset where you're doing 2 exercises for the same body part. You're doing 2 exercises for opposing body parts. And what's cool about this is when I'm working, for example, my bicep, when I'm squeezing my bicep, it is forcing my tricep to stretch and quote unquote relax, if you will. It's never fully relaxed, but it's doing the opposing muscle group muscle movement.
We also threw in some fun stuff like running the rack, which you got to talk about that, which for people like me I haven't done a whole lot of bodybuilder workouts, but I've done that before, and man, that was gnarly.
Oh yeah, right. Strip sets, running the rack. This is when you're lifting a weight and then you're moving to the next available weight and so on. I used to do this with laterals. That was one of my favorite things to do. Run the rack, and then curls was another one where you get like 10 barbells in front of you, and you go from one to the next to the next. And the pump you get
it's like an event though when you're doing these workouts.
Oh, it's the pump you get from it is it's advanced. It's an advanced technique. I would not apply it to anybody unless they were advanced and have a lot of experience. But the pump you get from something like that is insane. I mean, I think it's important that we kind of talk about who this program is for, because I want to make sure the right people get this program. You know? Right.
Well, right away when I think of who is it for, you have to be somebody who is super hardworking and dedicated. I mean, and consistent. It doesn't make sense to half-ass a program like this. It's somebody who I would have already wanted to see being very consistent in the gym. They've already lifted for at least a year plus consistently before I would want to see them doing something like this. Very, very serious about their training. I mean, this is the point where you're starting to schedule the rest of your day around your lift.
You're making sacrifices. I mean, you're going through and you're like, like looking at your schedule and realizing I'm not going to be able to do certain things because like this is my focus for a while.
Right. You need to love the gym. Yeah. You have to be that person which is what I remember when we were first doing the podcast and Maps Anabolic was the only program, and I felt compelled to share with people that, I know we're talking about Maps Anabolic and it is for the majority of people and it's our intro program. But currently where I was at in my life at that time, I'm in the gym 7 days a week because I love to be in the gym and I like the routine of like having to be there.
And you took your body to a very, very, very high level.
Right. And so, and I started to modify things, which is something else too I want to get into about the program, after we talk about the people who it's for. So that's who it's for, right? Then who it's not for, it's definitely not for somebody who's lazy.
Yeah, if you don't like working out, if you're like, hey, I don't want to be in the gym a lot. I like being fit, but I don't like working out that much in the gym. Probably not for you. You're going to be in the gym a lot.
Yeah, if you're the person if you're someone who loves like Maps Anabolic because of the results you get for as little as you have to be in the gym, it's the complete opposite of that. I mean, it's the most amount of time that you could potentially be in the gym. It's also not for somebody who's in their first year of training. It just is not. It's why we did not write it in the first couple of years we even started the show. As much as I love training this way, or I was at that point when we were on the show, we still knew it was just part of our integrity. Like, we're not going to put out something before we do all these other types of programs that we believe most everybody should be doing first. So yeah, if you're somebody who's within your first year of training, not the program for you. This needs to be somebody who has been training for a while, has scaled up their volume, that is ready for this much intensity in training for sure.
Right. And when you think about it too, when you start training and lifting weights and building muscle, a lot of what's happening is what's known as muscle hypertrophy. This is where muscle fibers actually grow, right? But there's something else that happens that's been speculated, and we've seen this in animals, and we are pretty confident this happens in humans as well. We've done studies on people with very developed muscles and who've been training for years and years and years with high volume, and we do these muscle biopsies. And what we find is that not only do they have bigger muscle fibers, Sometimes they just have way more muscle fibers. The density of the muscle fibers and the number of muscle fibers is much higher. And sometimes they'll do these athletes with big muscles. They'll find the muscle fibers aren't even bigger than the average person. They just have way more of them. And this is called muscle fiber hyperplasia. This is where muscle fibers actually split and become more muscle fibers. This is the holy grail of building muscle. Because when you stop working out, if you ever take a break and your muscles shrink, they shrink and then you have to work out to build them back. If you gain new muscle fibers, they probably don't go away. You probably have permanently increased your capacity to build muscle. This could be one of the reasons why muscle, what they call it, muscle memory exists. This is why now at 40, I can stay at 200 pounds relatively lean, easy as fuck. When I was 17, 18 years old at the peak of my testosterone levels after having lifted weights for 4 years. Remember, I started at 14.
Right.
To be at 200 pounds was a constant struggle, constantly pushing.
Or another great example I love to use is our buddy Ben Pekulski. You know, a guy that spent his whole life trying to build to be this massive monster, reached the pinnacle of that, and then looks back now and he's trying to lose 100 pounds. And it's difficult, like trying to lose, and he's trying to lose muscle. It's actually really, really tough for the guy. And when you hear the amount of calories he's eating and how low a volume he's training, it's amazing how much muscle mass he still has.
That's right.
It speaks to this theory that I 100% believe
Absolutely. And so this is the kind of training, after you've advanced, been training for a while, you start to apply a lot of volume. So, and I would do cycles of this. I would do cycles of shit like this where I would work for 3-4 months. I would work out with the highest levels of volume and frequency and intensity that I could handle, that was appropriate. And after I would do something like that, I always felt like I'd move up a degree or two in my new permanent range, if that makes any sense. Now, of course, there's genetic limits, so I can't just do that forever. Obviously, if I did, I'd be 400 pounds of muscle. But I did notice every time I would move my body to a new level where that became kind of my new baseline. And I think it was that hyperplasia that was happening. But that's been speculated to happen from high volume, high frequency, and consistency over a long period of time, which brings me to something else. This program is the longest program that we've ever offered.
Oh, this is this is the first program we exhausted our editors. They were exhausted just editing
and shooting.
Shooting and editing it broke half the people trying to just shoot the damn thing. I mean, it has 96 workouts in it. Shout
out to Sean and Brooke for going through it.
Right, dude, 96 workouts in this thing, and it will last you 5 to 6 months. Now, what was fun about this, and what I really liked that we did, and it really mirrors a lot of how I was kind of programming towards the end, with how I would make decisions on like off days and rest days. And the reason why it's a range of 5 to 6 months is this one wasn't like a week thing that we did before. So in the past,
we didn't go by a 7-day schedule.
Right. We didn't go by a specific 7-day schedule. We went by workouts that you need to accomplish. And there's an option. There's an advanced option, and then there's an expert super advanced option, which basically is the decision of, do I rest 2 days in between the 3 workouts, or do I rest just 1 day? So it's designed 3 workouts on, 1 off, 3 workouts on, 1 off, or 3 workouts on, 2 off, 3 workouts on, 2 off.
Right.
And that is up to you to decide. And this is like why I loved implementing this. This is how I was in the gym I was always in the gym 7 days a week, but some days would be my active recovery or deload type of days where I wasn't lifting and training really heavy, but I was doing like mobility work. So I think that's one of my favorite parts about how we created this is we actually integrated mobility into a hardcore, intense bodybuilding type of workout.
Yeah, those are your deload days. So, the split being 3 on, 1 off, or 3 on, 2 off, those 1 or 2 off days, you go in and you're doing mobility work that's both helping encourage greater ranges of motion. This is important because what happens when you train this hard and this consistent. So if you're listening right now and you're advanced, you've been training for a while, or you're just hardcore with your training, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Once you push it to that limit and you're tiptoeing on that line, you can start to lose a little bit of your range of motion just because you're tight or you get a little sore because of all that work. So you go into squat and it's harder to get deep like before because, again, you're tearing down a lot of muscle. You're rebuilding a lot of muscle. These deload days that we have programmed in this program are designed to facilitate recovery, but also to encourage better ranges of motion, so that you're not going to encounter some of those pitfalls that you get with the crazy volume and training programs.
How often have you seen this programmed in? I'm just curious, because I know there's a lot of crazy programs out there.
Never. I've never seen it.
Nobody does that.
Normally what happens is somebody who promotes mobility work and stuff like that are on the woo-woo side of program.
Exactly.
And it's all yoga, mobility-driven, athletic, maybe some athletic performance type stuff. But I have definitely never seen something that is geared more towards bodybuilding or sculpting the physique, and then also including the benefits of mobility, which was something that I did that was so different about my peers. I remember speaking to all my bodybuilder guys, and nobody was training mobility because we're bodybuilders. It was, again, one of those things where we love to divide ourselves and put ourselves in camps, that I'm camp bodybuilder, oh, you're camp No, there's some incredible benefits. And I saw those. That was one of the things that I realized, wow, if I can learn to just pay attention to when I know I've stretched the limits of my body, and instead of coming back and just doing the only thing that I know, which is lift weights and lift more weights, it's how about I go in and do some active recovery and work on some mobility? And what I found, not lifting those weights on those days actually promoted more muscle growth. And so that's the ultimate goal for this person that's sculpting or trying to build their physique, is they want to build muscle. And so most people think that, oh, well, if it's an extra day in the gym, I want to spend extra time lifting weights because that's going to be, not always.
Right.
Sometimes, and definitely when you're running a program with this much volume, this much intensity, the active recovery is going to be very crucial to the success of this program.
It's call it what you will, it's another hack to increase your body's work capacity, which you need if you're advanced to get your body to that next level. Now, here's something else that I think that I'm going to love saying. When it comes to cardio, we've talked about cardio ad nauseum on the show. Totally up to you. It's a tool you could use to burn extra calories. You can add it to any program. We don't program cardio in our MAPS programs, but we don't tell you not to do it. That's totally up to you. There's definite health benefits to it, and some people like to do it for the extra calorie burn. This is the MAPS program. I'm going to tell you right now, don't do cardio. Yeah. You're not only are you not going to need to do cardio, but it's going to waste your time. When you do this program the way it's laid out, and you have good diet and it's appropriate for you, I want to make sure I say that, you're going to get lean. You're going to get very, very lean. And doing any extra cardio just going to impede your body's ability to recover and adapt. Stay away. This is a cardio-free fucking get shredded and peak for your show or to maximize your great advanced
let me tell you the benefit, the health benefits that you get for training your heart, right, which is what cardio basically is. You're going to get that in this program.
Your heart's going to be pounded.
Yeah, when you're doing supersets and strip sets and drop sets and compound sets inside here on the second workout of the day, trust me, that heart is getting plenty of exercise, and you're going to get a lot of plenty of benefits that you would get that if you were to be doing some list cardio.
No, this is cool because we have a lot of these, kind of hardcore, consistent listeners who are like, oh, I go to the gym twice a day. In the AM, I like to do an hour of cardio, and in the PM, I like to lift. Okay, instead of doing that, you're going to lift in the AM and you're going to lift in the PM.
Right.
No more cardio.
Right.
And in fact, what's going to happen is the signal that you're sending is not going to be conflicting. It's all build muscle. It's all preserve muscle as you diet. It's all about
build,
shaping and sculpting the body. So, there you go. Now, the name of the program, that really cracks me up. We named it Maps PED.
Right.
Now, we know what PED stands for, performance enhancing drug. It doesn't stand for that in our program. It's performance enhancing design. But we did name it PED because this is about as advanced and hardcore as it gets, which brings me to something else. If you're an advanced individual and you're pushing your body really hard and you're somebody who also uses anabolics and you want to take advantage of the synthetic anabolics, a double split routine, probably one of the best things you could do. If it's appropriate for you, it'll blow you the fuck away in terms of progress and results. That's, I guess, pretty much it.
Well, you got to break down the phases for everybody so they know what that looks like.
It's a 4-phase program. So phase 1, we're focusing on strength. So this is more of your traditional straight set, lower rep type sets. You're going to be doing a lot of these compound, heavy type movements to build strength, although not all the exercises are really low rep. Some of them are higher rep, the ones that don't lend themselves well to super low reps, like the isolation type movements, but the focus is on building maximal strength. The second phase is size. This is your traditional 8 to 12 rep type sets, the hypertrophy, range that people like to call it. A lot of straight sets, so do your set, rest, do your set, rest. Then you get into the fun, but also, gonna kick your ass phases. Pump is the fourth phase. Here's your compound sets. Here's where you're working opposing muscle groups all in one set. This is when you're doing your bench press to your row, or when you're isolating on your legs, you're doing your leg extensions to your leg curls, that kind of stuff, where you're getting a pump on both sides of your body. And then the final phase, that's peak. Here's where you're doing your drop sets, your supersets for the same body part.
Increasing that intensity right
You are squeezing as much blood into particular body parts as possible. And I do want to say this. This is the program where you want to dial everything in. This is the program, and I don't mean just diet, sleep, although definitely dial those in. I mean, this is the program where supplements make sense.
Well, this is also where a lot of the recovery tools and the things that we're not always pushing people to do, it starts to make a little more sense. I mean, if you've got the funds to afford the red light therapy, to get the cryotherapy going on, to schedule your meals out in meal time, now it kind of matters. You're pushing these extreme levels, and quite honestly, we just don't think that the majority of people need to be here. But if you've worked up to this, and this is where you're at,
that's where it makes sense.
This is where it does, and I think this is where it's fun to start to play with a lot of those things.
Oh yeah, this is where you can look at your supplements and be like, okay, I'm going to time amino acids, at this time of my workout. I'm going to make sure I eat my carbs right here and have my faster acting carb. All the stuff that we make fun of, that's splitting hairs. You're going to want to split hairs when you're following a program like this and everything is dialed in. This is, again, if you're advanced, if you love the gym, you love to work out, you've been consistent for a long time, and you think you can handle this, you want to take the challenge, you're like, no, fuck, I can handle all this. Dial everything in and see exactly what your genetic limits look like.
You also need a commercial gym. This is required. I mean, we have so many exercises. And how many exercises did we shoot total, Justin?
God. I think it's it's well over 100, 150 or so.
Yeah. There's a lot of variety, a lot of novelty, a lot of giving your body different angles, different techniques. Could you do this with just free weights at home? Yeah, you'd have to get really, really creative, and you're going to have to modify this program a lot.
Yeah.
But ideally, you would definitely have access to the gym. But here's the thing: think about it this way. Look, all of us have a genetic potential limit to what we can achieve physically. In order to hit that limit, you have to maximize and dial everything in perfectly. It's not for everybody, but I know some of you right now listening, you're getting a boner hearing me say that. You're like, oh shit, I want to see how far I could take my genetics. Right? I want to see the max that I can squeeze out of my body. I want to see what I can look like and feel like if I dedicated months of consistent, crazy hard workouts, diet, sleep, supplements. Well, if that's you and you get excited when I say that, that would be me if I was listening.
Yeah.
This is the program for you. Now, it is new. We're just launching it right now, which means it's on sale. So it's $60 off its retail price. If you want to check out this program or you want to enroll this program, if you think you have what it takes, go to Maps PED.com. So that's MAPS PED.com and use the code PED60. So PED, the number 60, no space, for $60 off. The $60 off promotion only lasts until Saturday the 27th at midnight. Also, by the way, if you enroll during this launch period, you'll get a free Maps PED t-shirt to go along with your program. So there you go. Try it out. Check it out. Let us know what you think.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes Maps Anabolic, Maps Performance, and Maps Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.